Welcome to Audacity Works, a podcast inspired by and dedicated to the working artist, the creative entrepreneur, and generally, doing the damn thing. This exists on the premise that the world belongs to those who have the audacity to believe that their lives have value. This is for you. Welcome to Audacity Works. I am your host, Rachel Strickland, and this is episode number 137. And eventually, it's going to be a cringy story from my past, which is by request from my friend Vanessa, after I shared one other cringy story from my past, which was the request of Hannah. Thank you both. I will try to find the link to the previous episode and put that in the show notes in case you just want to hear all about my cringe. But first, some little life updates. It is June. Thank you for the birthday wishes, by the way. It was on Saturday. I'm 43. Woohoo! And it was a lovely day of doing absolutely jack shit. And then I had dinner with my family that night. Very low-key, exactly what I needed and wanted. It is hotter than the devil's butthole outside, which of course makes me very happy, but it's like a little bit much even for me. I just went for a walk and I came back and I'm like wet. It's not raining, but my skin, all of it is wet like a seal. So I know it's not June 21st yet, but summer's already here. It has begun. Last night, I'm recording this on Monday, last night, on Sunday night at Dance Lab, me and Georgia Shrube both did a full run-through dress rehearsal of our show, my half and her half, The Yellow Wallpaper and Other Stories. And I invited some friends to watch so I could get a little bit of feedback afterwards. And of course, I didn't think of any good questions to ask them, which is hilarious because I'm the one that tells people to come up with the good questions. Classic. But it did go well, and that's what I wanted. The show exists, which is great because it is going live on next Friday, June 20th. The show's going to happen. If you're in Charleston, please come down, and I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. I am not nervous right now, because of course I just did it last night and everything went well and I'm like, cool. But it's actually pretty important to me not to be scared, which I'm not. I am prepared. And that's what I wanted. I know some people really dig that last minute, like, oh, hope it all comes together at the last second. But I don't enjoy that. I don't enjoy that. I like to be prepared, and that's pretty much all you can do. And I know some people take issue with this, and they don't like that I say it, but I still think your primary objective on performance day should be to enjoy yourself. And that's why I prepare. Because if I feel prepared, then I can enjoy myself. Maybe that's a weird take. I don't know. I just know it feels better. I've done both, and this way feels better to me. But that's what's happening over here. Me and Georgia are going to meet up downtown tomorrow and do that real cute thing where we drive around and put flyers up, because people don't buy tickets to shows up until like the last moment. Well, it's that time, so it's the perfect time to be handing out flyers. Okay, so on to the meat of the episode. This is part 2. I'll likely have more, but part 1 was by request from my friend Hannah, who asked to know cringy stories of my life starting out. And I chose to tell about a time I had this brilliant strategy to get a regular paying gig in Seattle and how that really didn't work out for me. It's a very good lesson learned. I will link that in the show notes. It was actually episode 12, so kind of a long time ago. And today is part 2, requested by Vanessa. Thank you, Vanessa. You probably thought I forgot, didn't you? I didn't forget. And this goes way back. It's not even about art, all right, but it is about life. So I was 22 years old. I was still in school at the University of North Carolina at Asheville. That's so funny. I just had this impulse to be like, go Bulldogs. But like, not once did I ever attend a sporting event at college because I don't give a fuck about sports ball. So I thought that was really weird that I had the impulse to say that, because I don't care about the Bulldogs. Fuck them. But I will say, go Connie Schrader. She was the head of the dance department. She had a big impact in my life. Thanks, Connie. Anyway, I was living off campus by this point, and I was working at this adorable, gritty little strip club by the river, down by the river. That's right, called the Trophy Club. It might still exist. It might not. A lot of things in Asheville don't exist anymore. I don't want to look it up, so I'm not going to. So I was working there nights and weekends and going to school full-time and majoring in creative writing. And one of my professors, I don't actually remember her name, but she was head of the women's studies department. And when I think I must have written a paper or something about my work at the club, and because it was such an interesting environment, like most people are never going to have this life experience. I'm going to write about it. So I did, and my senior thesis was on it. But she must have read some paper that I wrote, and then she talked to me after class, and she's like, I'd like you to come speak to my women's studies class. And I was like, oh my God, that is so cool. Of course I will come speak to your women's studies class. And we set the date, and I felt very proud and important and went home happy. So the date comes around, and I know what room to go to. I went to the room, and it was set up at like one of those classes as a round table discussion. So there's all these tables and maybe like 30 women sitting at this round table, and there was a little place for me. And the professor had told them that I was coming. And I was so excited to get to like come be like the focal point in a room full of feminists. I was like, fuck yeah, this is going to be awesome. I don't know if you know this, but I was pretty damn shy when I was young. My social skills are just that. They are skills that I have learned. I was not born like this. I was not particularly well-spoken or outgoing. I wanted to be, but I wasn't yet. So anyway, get in the room, put down my stuff, take my seat, and like look at the room and smile and realize they are all glaring at me. And the energy in the room was just very weird. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Why is this happening? There was an overwhelming feeling of disapproval. The professor introduced me, said what I did, and that I was a student in her class, and then opened the floor to the room to ask me questions. And the very first question I got, I shit you not, was, so do you do cocaine? No, Sheila. I don't do cocaine, and I have never enjoyed drugs. I don't do any of them, except for coffee. But let's be honest, she wasn't talking about coffee. I'm like, no, I don't do cocaine. I've never done cocaine. It was so fucking awkward. And I realized I hadn't been brought into this room because I had achieved an independence for myself at 22 years old. I hadn't been brought into the room because I had made choices that gave me agency and autonomy over my time. I hadn't been brought into the room because I was paying rent for 4 humans, including myself, that we were living together, and I was supporting us in that way. And at the very least, I had not been brought into the room because I was a good writer who was having a unique lived experience at this portion of my life that other people were also interested in because it was interesting. No. I had been brought into the room to be crucified. Can you smell the irony happening? What does it smell like to you? I looked to my professor for help, and she was just like dead-faced, staring into nothing. And I'm like, that bitch set me up. So I thought that I was going into that room to learn a little bit more about feminism. But what I actually learned is what feminism is not. Okay. Because I love feminism and I think it's very important, and it must include people who live lives that you would prefer not to live. It must include people that don't look like you, talk like you, and it must include people that do things that you don't approve of. Now, if this happened to me now, today, that would be fun, right? Because I have the tools to make that room into a playground. I had no such tools. I thought I was brought in for a conversation. I did not realize I was being brought in to be burnt at the stake. The other questions that followed were kind of the question about cocaine really set the tone for the whole room, and people were very shocked to learn that I didn't do drugs. Like, well, I just assumed. Well, it was very clear that you assumed. They asked if I had kids. They asked if I was married. They asked how much money I made and if I'd ever been assaulted on the job. They asked if I had told my parents. So no, I didn't learn more about what feminism was that day, but I definitely learned what it is not. And ironically, that's why we need feminism. And it must include men. And I don't mean that in like, it must include men so that they feel bad about being men. That's not working. Can we not agree that that doesn't work? Anytime you make someone feel shame, or you imply that they should feel shame for being what they are, bad shit happens. Now, I didn't feel shame in that room, because although I was not outgoing or well-spoken, I did know who I was, and I knew I was proud of myself, and I was proud of my work, and that because I had made the choices that I made, that job sent me overseas 3 times. And the point wasn't that it was sex work. The point was I decided I wanted to find another way, and I did. And I knew that that was something worth celebrating and respecting. They didn't agree, and that's okay. It didn't change how I felt about it. It definitely changed how I felt about that professor. So that concludes my cringy story from yesteryear. If you'd like more of these, just let me know, because it was pretty fun. Also, no white feminism, no TERFs, and J.K. Rowling can eat a bag of dicks. Feminism is for everyone. That's the point. Okay, climbing right back down off my high horse. Thank you so much for listening. If you missed last week's episode, it is low work June, so episodes are going to be a bit shorter this month as I take some much needed downtime. I've done basically nothing today. Pretty happy about it. I do like to be doing things in extremes. That works for me. If you have requests for future episodes, I would very much love to hear them. You can reach me always on Instagram at Rachel Strickland Creative or on Patreon at Rachel Strickland Creative. This podcast is powered by Patreon, so I want to give a shout out to my patrons for trusting me, for believing in me, and for supporting me and allowing this to exist, and for supporting so much of what I do in the world. It would not exist without you, so thank you so much. If you're interested to read more about inclusionary feminism, I really enjoy the work of Reshma Saujani. She started Girls Who Code. I will put a link to her Instagram page in the show notes. Until next time, my friends, I hope you are having a beautiful June and being able to drink it in whatever way you see fit, and doing whatever you see fit as worthy of your life. Keep doing that, and don't go back to sleep.